beyond salvation.
There's an Amazon thing.
Yeah. And then, like my Gita, it's kind of falling apart, but it's still fits together and stuff. Based on, I don't know.
Look at it. Depending on when, you know, we have to allow a few days.
Okay.
If you give me something. So, yeah, I'm happy to look at anything you have. Even that I've made these days.
Okay.
They're not, they're nothing that special. As long as do you have an extra feedback?
And can I show you the articles tonight?
Sure. I'm here for the duration.
Thank you. Thank you.
The chairs have arrived.
The chairs have arrived.
And where are we going to put them?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
But sitting on one, they're comfortable.
Oh no, really?
Not like
That's
those.
something new.
And they're from China.
Oh,
Now, we'll see how long they hold up, but they're much nicer than those other things. Those other ones are just.
I know they were a donation, right? Was it Radhashmi donation? Janmashtami?
These ones?
Donation?
These
Yeah.
new ones? Yeah, they were donations.
From where?
John Mastami,
Mastami.
I think, it was after John Mastami. So, yeah.
Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Hey Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Times to Bhagavad Paramahansa Parajikacharya Ashtotar Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parajikacharya Ashtotar Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavindi Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Well, there's no way we can any other verse besides 24. 24. I think it's 24. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure we went through 23. Yeah, it is. Yeah, we did that. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Top of page 334.
334?
334. Page 334. Mm-hmm. Oh, you have an old one? Oh, God. No, it's okay. It's all right. If she's got the right page. Yeah. It's just
Chapter 7.
text, chapter 7, text 24. Okay. On this 30th day of August 2017 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are still in chapter 7 entitled Knowledge of the Absolute, text number 24. Avyaktam vyaktimapannam manyante mama buddhayah param bhavma jananto mamavyyamanuttamam avyaktam vyaktimapannam manyante mama buddhayah param bhavma jananto mamavyyamanuttamam avyaktam vyaktimapannam manyante mama buddhayah param bhavma jananto mamavyyamanuttamam. Damodar. Avyaktam vyaktimapannam manyante mama buddhayah param bhavma jananto mamavyyamanuttamam. Avyaktam vyaktimapannam manyante mama buddhayah param bhavma jananto mamavyyamanuttamam. Parashakti. Avyaktam vyaktimapannam manyante mama buddhayah param bhavma jananto mamavyyamanuttamam. Go ahead, man. Avyaktam vyaktimapannam manyante mama buddhayah param bhavma jananto mamavyyamanuttamam. Avyaktam vyaktimapannam manyante mama buddhayah param bhavma jananto mamavyyamanuttamam. Avyaktam, non-manifested, vyaktim, personality, apannam, achieved, manyante, think, mam, me, a buddhayah, less intelligent persons, param, supreme, bhavam, existence, ajanantaha, without knowing, mama, my, avyayam, imperishable, anuttamam, the finest. Translation. Unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme. Purport. Those who are worshippers of demigods have been described as less intelligent persons, and here the impersonalists are similarly described. Lord Krishna in his personal form is here speaking before Arjuna. And still, due to ignorance, impersonalists argue that the Supreme Lord ultimately has no form. Yamunacharya, a great devotee of the Lord in the disciplic succession of Ramanujacharya, has written a very appropriate verse in this connection. He says, Tvam Shila Rupa Charitai Padamappa Krishtai Satvena Satvikateya Prabalaischa Shastrai Prakhyata Daiva Padamata Vedam Mataischa Naivasada Prakritya Prabhavanti Bodhum. My dear Lord, devotees like Vyasadeva and Narada know you to be the personality of Godhead. By understanding different Vedic literatures, one can come to know your characteristics, your form, and your activities. And one can thus understand that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance, the demons, the non-devotees, cannot understand you. They are unable to understand you. However expert such non-devotees may be in discussing Vedanta and the Upanishads and other Vedic literatures, it is not possible for them to understand the personality of Godhead. Stotra Ratna 12. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that the personality of Godhead cannot be understood simply by study of the Vedanta literature. Only by the mercy of the Supreme Lord can the personality of the Supreme be known. Therefore, in this verse, it is clearly stated that not only are the worshippers of the demigods less intelligent, but those non-devotees who are engaged in Vedanta and speculation on Vedic literature without any tinge of true Krishna consciousness are also less intelligent. And for them it is not possible to understand God's personal nature. Persons who are under the impression that the absolute truth is impersonal are described as abudhaya, which means that they do not know the ultimate feature of the absolute truth. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that supreme realization begins from the impersonal Brahman and then rises to the localized supersoul. But the ultimate word in the absolute truth is the personality of Godhead. Modern impersonalists are still less intelligent, for they do not even follow their great predecessor, Shankaracharya, who has specifically stated that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Impersonalists, however, not knowing the supreme truth, think Krishna to be only the son of Devaki and Vasudeva, or a prince or a powerful living entity. This is also condemned in the Bhagavad Gita 9:11. Avajananti mamudha manushim tanam ashritam. Only the fools regard me as an ordinary person. The fact is that no one can understand Krishna without rendering devotional service and without developing Krishna consciousness. The Bhagavatam 10:14-29 confirms this. Atapite deva padamba jandvaya pasara leshanugaita evahi janati tattvam bhagavan mahimno nachanya eko picharam vichinvam. This is Lord Brahma speaking to Krishna. My Lord, if one is favored by even a slight trace of the mercy of your lotus feet, he can understand the greatness of your personality. But those who speculate to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead are unable to know you, even though they continue to study the Vedas for many years. One cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, or his form, quality, or name simply by mental speculation or by discussing Vedic literature. One must understand him by devotional service. When one is fully engaged in Krishna consciousness, beginning by chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, then only can one understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Non-devotee impersonalists think that Krishna has a body made of this material nature, and that all his activities, his form, and everything are Maya. These impersonalists are known as Mayavadis. They do not know the ultimate truth. The 20th verse clearly states, Kamais taista rita jnana papadyante anya devata. Those who are blinded by lusty desires surrender unto the different demigods. It is accepted that besides the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there are demigods who have their different planets, and the Lord also has a planet. As stated in the 23rd verse, Devan Devya Jo Yanti Mad Bhakta Yanti Mamapi. The worshippers of the demigods go to the different planets of the demigods, and those who are devotees of Lord Krishna go to the Krishna Loka planet. Although this is clearly stated, the foolish impersonalists still maintain that the Lord is formless and that these forms are impositions. From the study of the Gita, does it appear that the demigods in their abodes are impersonal? Clearly, neither the demigods nor Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are impersonal. They are all persons. Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he has his own planet, and the demigods have theirs. Therefore, the monistic contention that ultimate truth is formless and that form is imposed does not hold true. It is clearly stated here that it is not imposed. From the Bhagavad Gita, we can clearly understand that the forms of the demigods and the forms of the Supreme Lord are simultaneously existing, and that Lord Krishna is Satchit Ananda, eternal blissful knowledge. The Vedic literature confirms that the Supreme Absolute Truth is knowledge and blissful pleasure. Vijnanam Anandam Brahma, Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad 3.9.28, and that he is the reservoir of unlimited auspicious qualities. Ananta Kalyana Gunatma Kosal, Vishnu Purana 6.5.84. And in the Gita, the Lord says that although he is Aja, unborn, he still appears. These are the facts that we should understand from the Bhagavad Gita. We cannot understand how the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be impersonal. The imposition theory of the impersonalist monist is false as far as the statements of the Gita are concerned. It is clear herein that the Supreme Absolute Truth, Lord Krishna, has both form and personality. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshu Unminitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So this chapter is all about gaining accurate knowledge about Krishna. It started out with Krishna saying, Maya Sakta Manapata Yogam Yunjan Manashayam Asangshayang Samagunam Yata Gyasati Tatchanu. And Prabhupada picks up on this phrase, Tatchanu, means hear about it, Arjun. And then he gives, in the whole purport, he gives the verses from the second chapter, first canto, beginning with how Krishna in the heart, when he understands that you're hearing about him from the proper source, Shundatam Sukata Krishna, Punya Shavana Kirtanak, Riddindaksto Yabadhrani Vidanoni Suratsatam, that Krishna within the heart cleanses away all of these unwanted things called abhadras, or sometimes anartas, things you don't want. And you become progressively enlightened just by that proper hearing process. This is our main process of connecting with Krishna through transcendental sound. And the next verse in the Bhagavad Gita, 7.2, which we're just reading 7.24, it says, Jnanam teyam savijnanam idam bhakshama sheshat. I will now speak to you this chapter, this knowledge, and you will get jnana and vijnana. So jnana is like, if we understand, yes, I know that I'm a soul, and that Krishna is God, and that he created this world. I know that because it's in the Bhagavad Gita. I trust Srila Prabhupada, that's mine. But you haven't actually experienced it yourself. You can't say, yes, I know, because I've seen the soul, and I've seen Krishna, and I've traveled to the other planets. Then you really know. That's called Vigyan. So we're in the business of going from Agyan to Gyan to Vigyan. You see? We're all born Omagana Timarandasya. We're born in ignorance, darkness. We don't know what's what. And if we don't have the proper influence in our lives, the transcendental will remain in darkness our whole lives. And be completely convinced at certain points in our life that we know what's what, and we're acting on the basis of that so-called knowledge, but it's really ignorant. So now, if you recall, Krishna, he explains how he's created all these energies, and that everything we experience is really a result of the energies which are part of his influence. In other words, he's everywhere. It's a very practical instruction on how we can see God or Krishna in our environment, our practical environment. Seeing this light of the sun. Yeah, the sun is out in SanDiego, everybody knows that. But we know from the Bhagavad Gita, yes, that sun is Krishna's energy. I am the light of the sun and the moon. Right? Now we see it, we can see it differently. You see it as a manifestation of the divine, not just light and heat. You know? So by knowledge our vision changes, our understanding of ourselves and place in the world, and what's the right thing to do for our ultimate benefit. Now, he goes on in text 19. He says, "Bahunam janmanamante." If there are many, many births of cultivating knowledge, one comes to the conclusion that I, Krishna, Vasudeva, am everything, and so he surrenders to me. That proves that the knowledge is understood. The surrender means that you dovetail your will to Krishna's. The next verse, he starts describing who doesn't do that. Kamaistaista rita-jnana. Those whose knowledge is stolen away by material desire, lust. Rita-jnana literally means your knowledge. We're again with jnana here, knowledge. Stolen away. What do? They worship different gods who are nothing but Krishna's hands and legs. They're just his agents. But they worship them for material reasons, to fulfill this karma that they're with. And so he doesn't say what gods they worship. He says you can pick whatever you want. You can make up your own god. Yo yanam tanum bhakta. Yo yana means whatever, you know. Some people, they're worshiping the clouds, you know, they're worshiping the tree, whatever. There's sects everywhere. You'll find 1,000 religions on the internet. They just had this huge scandal of this guru in India. Did you know, this 60 million followers. My jaw dropped. 60 million? I forget. It's not a Krishna name or anything. I forget his name, but he looks like a gangster. I mean, they showed a picture of him. He doesn't look like he has one iota of transcendent. But somehow, by his, speaking and his influence, he had huge numbers of followers. Anyway, it's a horrific story. Years ago, he raped some of his followers. Oh my God, Yeah. And they finally, after years, they finally convicted him, put him in jail. Caused a huge riot. Hundreds of people were killed in the riots of his followers. You remember the story of Bhagavad? Some of you may recall that. Where Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur's appearance or disappearance is coming up. We can recount it again. But this in India, it apparently was common then. It's even common now that guys are able to, by their wizardry of speaking and whatever, to convince the innocent people that they're God or they're an incarnation of God. This happened in the 19th century. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was the magistrate. Now this particular Bhishikashain, he was claiming to be Mahavishnu. He had some yogic powers. He could cure people. He could do little tricks. When Bhaktivinoda came to confront him the first time, he leaned into the fire and leaned back without getting burned, and then sparks came from his head, and people were saying, ooh, he had thousands of followers. And Bhaktivinoda was going against them, But it came to a head, as he usually does. He had his own rasa dances, and he was having sex with some of the wives of the leading members of certain communities. So that really got him going, so they call him Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And eventually he was brought to trial, and he didn't eat or sleep, for months. He's in the jail, and he's got all his followers around, the jail who are, free so-and-so. You can imagine the way they do it today. And so Bhaktivinoda said no, he has to go on trial, and he said, the guy confronted Bhaktivinoda, go home and see what disaster awaits you. He goes home, and Bhaktivinoda, he had so many children, and one of his daughters couldn't wake up, and she was delirious, and he had put some spell, And Bhaktivinoda's wife was pleading with him, drop the case, And Bhaktivinoda says, let him kill us all, but we have to stop this. And this Mahavishnu was threatening to kill the king of England. This was during the British Raj, and start a revolution, so it was a big deal. So finally, Bhaktivinoda, on the final day, he himself was struck with some terrible pain in his side. He couldn't even walk. They had to carry him to the court on a palanquin, lying down. And he pronounced the final judgment guilty, and 6 months in jail for sedition, And it was a big uproar. And one of the Englishmen who'd been reading up on, the Hindus' customs, he read, well, these yogis, they keep their strength in their hair, So he came up behind the guy and cut off his long hair. He had the dreads, the whole thing. And as soon as he cut off his hair, he just crumpled down to the floor. He hadn't been eating or anything, And they carted him away, and he died shortly thereafter. I think he committed suicide in jail. But this has been happening for ages, and in India you'll find all kinds of gods. We had this Baba guy who claimed to be Krishna. I got on his site. This was a few years ago, of course. And he had somebody, one of his followers, writing Krishna Leela and just putting his name in the whole thing. You know, Sai Baba killed Putana, Sai Baba danced with the government. You know, it's horrible. Anyway, so yo yam yam tonam bhakta, whatever you want to worship, that's what it says. I'll make the strength strong. I'll make your faith strong in that. You know, yeyata, as you like, you know, I'll provide you it. Krishna will give you the strength to do it. He's not going to approve it, he's not going to, you know, but he'll sanction it. So, tasyata shashalam shala, with that steady faith, you know, they'll worship, so whatever. And, of course, many people worship Indra, they worship Shiva, they say that, but they do it for material purposes, that's the point. And with that faith, labadeta kaman, here kaman, this is now text 22, that you may get something. Or you may get something anyway for your karma and think it's coming from the demigods. You see, total bewilderment. But it's, whatever you get is coming from me. Even the total materialists who don't worship anyone except Mammon, you know, their results are also coming from Krishna. Where else are they coming? He just explained how he's the whole material energy. It's obvious it's coming from him. But the last thing they want to do is recognize the supremacy of the personality of God and actually surrender. They'll try to pretend that it's due to our powerful efforts that we're exploiting this material world. But it's all coming from Krishna. So then, yesterday's verse, Antavatu palam tesham. He's saying there, and Prabhupada picks up on this Alpamadasam, means those who are foolish, who are not too bright, they worship these demigods for temporary, limited fruits. Antavatu palam tesham. Palam means some fruit, whatever it may be. Material, go to heaven, healthy, wealthy, and wise, whatever. And then so he said, but they're not very bright because whatever you get is temporary. And we should understand from the beginning that we're permanent, we're eternal souls. And so our effort should be toward getting eternal assets. And the eternal asset that we're trying to find is bhakti, is our devotion to Krishna. That's the only thing worth anything here. That alone you can take with you to the next life. Everything else, material, stays here. So what's the point of striving for it? It's like you work very hard. I mean, there's some say, I don't know these Bengali sayings, but I know the gist of one that Prabhupada wrote. I worked very hard, and I built my house, and then it all burned down. And that's material life. I worked very hard, made so much money, had so many kids, I made so much fame, so much this, and then I died. But you didn't die. You actually went to a next life where all of that is lost. You forget all about it and start your next life, and chances are, without any Vedic culture, you lose the human form of life. So what did you actually do? You didn't do anything. You wasted your time. So, the present verse, now Krishna is saying there's another class of fools besides the demigod worshippers. He's talking about the impersonalists here. And that's why it's such a long purport. Because a lot of Prabhupada's preaching and that of the commentators who he's quoting is against the Mayavadis, the impersonalists. Because that's a greater danger even for us than the demigod worshippers. The idea, you know, Vivekananda came to America in 1898, was it, or something? Gave a speech in Chicago. And he created a great sensation. Because he was very articulate in English, and he was giving the Vedic principles, and he was telling people, you can be God. Imagine hearing that. You are God. You know, there's no difference. And of course to us it sounds insane because we're bhaktas. But people took it, and that's where the Vedanta Society started, and they're still going. So this impersonalist thing can attract the mind of someone who doesn't want to surrender, but wants to achieve this high state of consciousness beyond birth and death and all of these different things. And that's the appeal. And so, avyaktam vyaktam, this is the idea that Krishna is derived from Brahman. That beyond the personality of God and all its varieties is this white light, which is really... I met one of the followers of this. A follower of Nikalananda who Prabhupada met, of the Vedanta Society. That's Ramakrishna. They've been established in New York since the early 20th century. And when after Vivekananda came, they had so much influence. Chicago, New York, LA, they all have big centers. And this is what they believe. Avyaktam, vyaktam. From the avyaktam. Avyaktam means invisible. It means unmanifest. And that's a word for Brahman. Unmanifest, non-manifested, unmanifested. came my personality. I've derived my personality, my form, all of the things that we worship about Krishna, his Leela, his qualities, his wonderful personality. Can you imagine coming to the temple and your mentality is, oh, look at them. They're worshiping these statues. You know, how foolish they are. Don't they know that the absolute truth is ultimately just a white light? These are the emotional, sentimental bhaktas. I heard that. Somehow I survived it. Krishna protected me. But I was getting that preached to me back in 1972. But Krishna doesn't say that. He says, ones who think that are buddhya, are fools. Param bhavamajan, they do not know my supreme nature as the personality, one of whose aspects is the Brahman. Now, Prabhupada references, let's go through this purport. He goes through it. First of all, he quotes, he says, the demigod worshippers are less intelligent, but now the impersonalists are similarly described. And he quotes Yamunacharya. And you see, this is another main argument for us, because we're not about to go through all of the logic of the Vedanta Sutra. You really have to be a big brain for that. I don't have the brain for it. But we trust, having faith in our great acharyas, such as Yamunacharya, and maybe of a little different line. We share a lot of things with Ramanuja's line, the Sri Sampradaya. So this Stotra Ratna is quoted a lot. But what about, Srila Prabhupada, of course, and Bhakti Siddhanta, and Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and Jiva Goswami, and Lord Chaitanya, who was this great intellect. Don't forget he had that Nimai Pandit stage where he's defeating everybody, all the Mayavadis. So even though we may not be able to follow all the arguments, Prabhupada presents them nicely. If you really want them in Adi Leela chapter 7, you'll find a lot of this stuff about it again. But we say, well, are we really going to feel that we know more than, these towering intellects? No, we have complete faith, and so that's a main argument. But here he's saying that Vyasadeva and Narada know how you to be the personality of God. He's doing the same thing. He's invoking all of these great acharyas in our line. And this is enough for us, basically, to reject this philosophy of impersonalism. He quotes the Brahma Samhita. Now, the main idea, which is mentioned in this chapter, it's mentioned in the 3rd chapter again and again, is that by allowing material desire to guide us, to allow to see the world in terms of what's in it for me, that's kamaistai, that's your knowledge is stolen away by material desire. So therefore we can't really see the truth. We're in a state, it's almost like being in an intoxicated state, where yourself or somebody well, they can't really see what's going on. They don't understand who they are. They may speak nonsense and say, alcohol is one thing, but some drug that can distort your perception. So really the whole world, everyone in the material world is suffering from that. It may not be so obvious as someone who's intoxicated, but it's the same principle. The covering is the modes of nature, the material desire, which Krishna says directly covers our knowledge. Avritam jnanam etena. Avrita means covering. And so people are walking around thinking they know what's going on, but they really don't. And they're making decisions about what's good and what to do on the false basis. And Prahlad describes it perfectly. Andaya tandar, the blind leading the blind. So you're kind of helpless. And the real kicker is you don't realize, you don't know that you're in ignorance. Just like someone who's intoxicated, he may argue, no, I'm fine, right? You've seen it happen like that. But you're not fine, So everybody is in that state. And only someone who's enlightened, who actually can see the truth. That's why it says Tattva Darshabi in the 4th chapter, why, taking shelter of a realized sage is so important. Because they can open our eyes with real knowledge, and we can see things as they really are. So Krishna is doing that here for Arjuna, and he's doing it for us. Padam bhavam ajananto, they don't understand my supreme nature. And mama avyayam, my form and personality is eternal. It is never changed. Avyayam means what is imperishable. And anuttamam. Anuttamam means there's nothing beyond it. One of the verses in this chapter, let's go back to text 7. Let's see if I got it right. I think the 7, yeah. Prabhu will quote this all the time. Mattak parataram nanyat. This is text 7. Kinchadasti danandaya mai sarmidam protam sute managana. O Congo, there is no truth superior to me. This is also against the Mayavadis. Because you have this hierarchy. Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. Right? There's the different levels of understanding the absolute truth. This is in the Bhagavatam. Vadanti tat tattvadas. Those who know the truth, it says this in this verse. This is Sutta speaking. They declare that this non-dual substance, the absolute, is known in 3 phases. Brahman, Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaniti, Shabdite. In these 3 phases. And it's not that they're unrelated to each other. It's the idea of the sun. You know, the sun, we first understand the sun. We don't see the sun in the sky, but we see the light coming in the window. Okay, so we understand the sun is up because the light is there. So the sun shines. Then you go outside and there's a place in the sky where the sun, that's really a whole different thing. It's so bright and, you're the fire and everything. But then it's understood if you have the facility, you can go there and you can see there's a whole world there. And it's just fire, impersonal fire. There's a sun god and there's a place. It's just a different substance. It's just like you go to the ocean and it's all watery, and now it's So the sun, the varieties in the sun planet with the sun god and all the people there and everything there, and then just the localized aspect of the sun. That's like the Paramatma, and the shine there is like the Brahman, and the sun god and everything is like Bhagavan. So it's progressive realization of varieties and personality. Ultimately, everything is personal. Why does Krishna say, Bhumarapa, the earth, water, fire, these are my separated energies. They're not separate from Krishna. And the whole idea that he's present in every atom as a super-soul. He's present everywhere. Everything is personal. The scientists, the modern age, is trying to reduce everything to atoms and molecules. There's no personality, ultimately. Consciousness, and Prabhupada railed against this, consciousness is a result from matter, from all the interactions of matter. In other words, life comes from matter. No, life comes from life, and so does matter. In other words, the supremacy of the supreme life. That's our basic philosophy. In the spiritual world, everything is conscious. There's life everywhere. Here it's a combination of life and matter, of living entities and all the matter. And we're just tiny little souls, and we got this big body. So really, there's all this covering, material covering. So we're trying to get uncovered by the process of bhakti. So he calls him a buddhaya, which is the same thing as mudhas or upamadasa. Then Prabhupada quotes this verse from the 9th chapter. Avajananti mamudha manushim tanamashadam. The same idea. When I appear as a so-called human being, he appears as a human being. He's not a human being, but he looks like a human being. The fools deride me. And how many demons did he kill who thought he was just an ordinary boy, right? Or a little baby. He's not. Only the fools regard me as an ordinary person when I come. And then this verse from Brahma. Now it's important that Brahma is speaking this because after all, he's the most knowledgeable in the universe. He's known as Vidhi, the repository of all the Vedas. He was first enlightened by Krishna. So if anyone knows, Brahma knows. He's the one who spoke the Bhagavatam in its essence originally to Narada, and Narada passed it on down the line and came down to eventually Shukadev, Vyasadeva, Shukadev. So here's Brahma. After he gets bewildered, he tried to trick Krishna. He put his boys under mystic slumber. Then the calves. So he's testing Krishna. So then Krishna, the story. He just expanded himself for a whole year. He just played. Brahma was bewildered. That's called Brahma Vimohana Leela. And so he comes down and he has these really important prayers in chapter 14. They're worth reading in Krishna book or in the 10th. And one of them, Prabhupada's favorites, is here. Atapi de deva padamba jadvaya prasada leshanu gita hevihi janati tattvam bhagavan mahim no nishanya eko bichadam vichinvan. My dear Lord, and Krishna, this is four-headed Brahma, coming down off his swan, very magisterial, speaking to the little calf herd Krishna, 6 years old, with a little yogurt and fruit in his hand, and a little miniature flute tucked under his belly. So you can see the contrast, and Krishna just standing there, and he's offering these prayers after falling down, crying and everything. He realizes that he really is God. This really is, amazing manifestation of Narayan. So this, basically it says, just to summarize, unless one gets a little bit of your mercy, one cannot understand you, even if he, speculates for millions of years. Chidam vichinvan means long time speculation or reading the Vedas. Prabhupada translates it, even though continuing to study the Vedas for many, many years. So janati tattvam, keyword tattvam, understand you in truth. So many people contacted Krishna, we read in Krishna book. They didn't understand Krishna in truth. Putana thought he's a little girl, and all of the demons thought he's just a little boy, and they couldn't understand. It's a great mystery. So here, he says, if they want to understand your truth, they have to get your mercy, which means bhakti. In other words, only through bhakti does Krishna agree to reveal himself proportionally to our sincerity. And another favorite verse Prabhupada would always quote in the 18th chapter, Bhaktya mama bijanati yavanjaschasmi tattvataha. There's that word tattvat again. Is that only by bhakti can I be understood in truth. Otherwise you're going to misconstrue. Krishna is a myth, the deity is a statue, There's a verse describing living in hell, even on earth. It's a long verse, I'll give you just a taste of the Sanskrit. Arche Vishnu Shiladi Gudushanandabhati Vaishnave Jati Buddhi. That one is already dwelling in hell who thinks that the worshipable deity form is just a statue. Shila means like a stone. That the guru is an ordinary human being, like everyone else. That these Vaishnavas, according to their birth, this is American Vaishnava, forget it. You got to be born in India in a Brahmin family. That whole idea, you're living in hell. Who thinks that the Charanamrita, the water that washes the deity's feet or the devotee's feet, which can, eliminate so many sins, is just ordinary water. That the holy name is just an ordinary sound, and that Vishnu, Shiva, Indra, it's all the same. That there's no difference. This is all this hellish mentality, and that's what Krishna is criticizing here. So the only way is by bhakti, and progressively Krishna will enlighten us. And let's see. So Prabhupada makes that point. And let's see. All right. Anyway, this is why this is a long purport, because it's anti-impersonalism. And there's several verses and several purports. You go back to the second chapter, the very second verse Krishna speaks is a big anti-Mayavad verse. Natve vaham jatu nasam natvam neme janadipa. Never did I not exist, nor you, nor all these fighters. We've always existed in the past, and exist now, and exist in the future. As individual souls, we don't merge into anywhere. A huge long purport, anti-Mayavad, the same idea. Okay, any questions on this verse?
Question regarding material desire.
Yeah.
So, obviously, when one has material desire, they become covered up more. Can this material desire be used for spiritual purposes? With some bhakti, can one desire material things? Just like how we pray to Ganesh and for obstacles to be removed, pray for material things or to fulfill a spiritual goal, a spiritual duty. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I can see your point, but the best thing is it has to be done case by case with some superior guidance, because we tend to underestimate the power of Maya. In the process of praying for these material things for spiritual purposes, we find that our desire to use those material things may wane a little bit in the presence of, successfully getting those material things. In other words, there's always a danger of unless we're really fixed, that the modes of nature will take over, and we'll use those material things in our own service. It's happening. I mean, the history of this movement proves it. It's just the way it works. Is that this is why Srila Prabhupada was so pure, completely pure, that he could be living as basically a pauper on the streets of New York, and he used everything that he had. You read a diary. Expenditure 7 cents today, and income 14 cents. Oh, things are going well. It's extremely frugal. He's famous for reusing the envelopes, and writing it. And then at a certain point, okay, that was the beginning. And then things took off, and he had thousands of dollars and even millions of dollars at his disposal. And it's still the same point. Okay, we got all this money, we'll build this big temple, we'll print all these books, There was no question. But some of his followers weren't on that level, and when they had followers of their own and they had all this money, they got bewildered by it. So it's necessary to employ the things of this world in Krishna's service. That's what bhakti means. And sometimes, these are things. Many times they can be used either for Maya or for Krishna. But we have to make sure that our sadhana is very strong, and that our basic consciousness is being governed by chanting and hearing and doing all the things that keep the heart pure, and then whatever comes our way, or whatever we're able to do, that we'll use it purely. There's a verse describing how the bhakti is like a razor's edge, and we can experience it sometimes. You get a little bit off and you can cut yourself, with a razor. So it's always better to be in a very humble and simple situation, But I see the point. Sometimes it's necessary, like Tirtha Maharaj, you get this bus, and do these things. So and the whole book printing, that involves millions of dollars coming in and then going out, and it's always it's churning. It's Lakshmi, but there is a temptation. Oh yeah. We can use that all these wonderful skilled book distributors who are trained in how to we really need to raise money for this and raise money for that. So we'll go out with I remember I was in New York. They started with the record albums, much higher margin, and then from there we went to I don't know. Did you ever do pinning the carnations on? Stickers with the margin is huge. But what happens to the consciousness of the book distributors? After a while you think, oh, and they're thinking, what's happening to all this Lakshmi? I got to go out and make my own Lakshmi. And then we have, a whole bunch of book distributors, former book distributors, going out doing stickers and maintaining themselves. So there's always that danger of impurity, and Prabhupada is always insisting, morning, evening programs, kirtan, there's letters, an hour a day of Harinam minimum, Even the evening class, I'm trying to maintain here, but, when we join, evening kirtan, Gaur Arti, the temple's full, everybody's, blows away all of these little cobwebs that may start gather during the day, boom, Hare Krishna. Anyway, yeah. Yes, this is from the first canto, second chapter. I don't know, about from 8 to 14, somewhere in there, and it begins with Vadanti tat tattvavidas, tattvam yajnanam. Vadanti means they say, they declare. Who says? The tattvavidas, those who know the truth. This is the constant. Even Krishna says. The great sages say. He sometimes refers. He's the source of all the knowledge. But to give us examples, Rishabir Bahuda Gitam, all the rishis sing this truth, and then he gives the instruction. So this the sages say. So you look it up, the first Canto, second chapter, around verse 10 to 15. You'll find it there. Okay? Very important. Okay, so we do want to maintain our Krishna book reading. So we'll begin on Monday with text 25, but we have a lot of holidays coming up, but I figured, but anyway. Next class is on text 25. And we are in the Brahman's wives still, right? A lot of nectar. Okay, let's see. Yeah, this is a wonderful chapter. Okay. Blessing the Brahman's wives. Problem is I'm not erasing. All right. Well, this is the first chapter. All right, so we're way beyond this. Okay, so the Brahman's wives have packed all their tiffins and they've come out to Krishna. And then Krishna says to them what he said to the gopis, but then he tells them to go back. Krishna welcomed these Brahmins' wives with the following words: "My dear wives of the Brahmins, you are all very fortunate and are welcome here. Please let me know what I can do for you. You're coming here to see me, neglecting all the restrictions and hindrances of relatives, fathers, brothers, and husbands is completely befitting. One who does this actually knows his self-interest, because rendering transcendental service to me without motive or restriction is actually auspicious for the living beings." Lord Krishna here confirms that the conditioned soul can reach the highest perfectional stage by surrendering to him. One must give up all other responsibilities. This complete surrender unto the Supreme Lord is the most auspicious path for the conditioned soul, because the Lord is the supreme objective of love. Everyone is loving his self according to the advancement of his knowledge. Ultimately, when a person comes to understand that his self is the spirit soul, and that the spirit soul is nothing but a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, he recognizes the Lord as the ultimate goal of love, and then surrenders unto him. This surrender is considered auspicious for the conditioned soul. Our life, our property, our home, wife, children, house, country, society, and all paraphernalia, which are very dear to us, are expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the central object of love, and he gives us all bliss, expanding himself in so many ways according to our different situations, bodily, mental, spiritual. Krishna goes on, "My dear wives of the Brahmins, you can now return to your homes. Engage yourselves in sacrificial activities and in the service of your husbands and household affairs, so that your husbands will be pleased with you, and the sacrifice which they have begun will be properly executed. After all, your husbands are householders, and without your help, how can they execute their prescribed duties?" This is not what they wanted to hear. The wives of the Brahmins replied, "Dear Lord, this sort of instruction does not befit you. Your eternal promise is that you will always protect your devotees, and now you must fulfill this promise. Anyone who comes and surrenders unto you never goes back to the conditioned life of material existence. We expect that you will now fulfill your promise. We have surrendered unto your lotus feet, which are covered by tulsi leaves, so we have no desire to give up the shelter of your lotus feet and return to the company of our so-called relatives, friends, and society. And what shall we do if we return home? Our husbands, brothers, fathers, sons, mothers, and friends will no longer accept us at home because we have already left them all. Therefore, we've no shelter to return to. Please, therefore, don't ask us to return home, but arrange for us to stay under your lotus feet so we can eternally live under your protection." And, is this thing stuck now? Well, I guess that's a signal we have to stop. This is malfunctioning. What can I do? Oh, here we go. Oh, one more little bit. The Supreme Personality of Godhead replied, "My dear wives of the Brahmins, rest assured that your husbands will not neglect you on your return, nor will your brothers, sons, or fathers refuse to accept you. Because you are my pure devotees, not only your relatives, but also people in general, as well as the demigods, will be satisfied with you." Close quote. Krishna is situated as the super soul in everyone's heart, so someone who becomes a pure devotee of Krishna immediately becomes pleasing to everyone. The pure devotee of Krishna is never inimical to anyone, nor can any sane person be an enemy of a pure devotee. Quote, transcendental love for me does not depend upon bodily connection, but anyone whose mind is always absorbed in me will surely, very soon, come to me for my eternal association. And we don't know exactly what happened, so we have to tune in on Monday. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. We don't have time. We have to adjourn. And we'll begin, what verse do we read? 24? We'll begin on text 25 on Monday. Yeah. Okay.
What is your process for memorizing verses and songs?
Oh, I have a Dravida's easy 6-point process memorization.
That's what
I
I'm
can give it to
hoping
you.
for.
Just remind me. Give me an email.
Seriously?
Yeah, for real.
Thank you.
I wrote it many years ago. But it always helps to have someone helping you to drill. And it's Krishnangana in October when I come back from all my travels. Then we're going to start a regular class of memorization. You can be part of it. Yeah, gradually we get all these shlokas. All right, let us get ready for the food. Oh.
Why do you need to go to the gym when you live in a temple? Cleaning the kitchen, cleaning the drum, cleaning the chairs.
Now what do they do with all these chairs? This is a donation.
Really?
Yes, this is a donation.
100,000 chairs.
Instead of washing, they want more chairs.
I don't know.
It is time for me to take down.
Yeah. Doesn't look fun. Maybe. Maybe like two.
The whole idea is the person wanted there to be more chairs so people could sit up.
Right. We were thinking for Gita Kumasa building. Yeah, you know, here in that Benji.
No, I didn't.
Oh, he has a very good look. Because when we put chairs, every time it comes back out, it's got to sell it. It doesn't matter what it's doing. Oh, it's managed. Make it just managed, right?
Well, these are,
Yeah, we reduce the acreage. I mean, they have that in Chicago. I think they were there. It was a Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashtachari Shatarine Namaste Saraswati Devi. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Boom 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 boom, Hare Hare Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. James Bad Paramahansa Parudikacharya Ashtoto to the Shishima Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki
ISKCON Church Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parudikacharya Ashtoto to the Shishima Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnava ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Thank you, Lord. Mr. Chaitanya Bhavan Nityananda, Sri Vedic Radha Shiva Sadigo. Jai. Shri
Shri Radha Krishna, Go Gopinath, Shami Radha Giri Govardhan, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Mahi Ki Jai, Yamuna Mahi Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Book Distribution Ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, all glory to the sum of the devotees. Hare Krishna. All glory to the sum of the devotees. Hare Krishna. All glory to the sum of the devotees. Hare Krishna. All glory to Sri Guru and all glory to Sri Guru and Govinda.
You got a seat behind you too. He's got plenty. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Radha Larandayine. Hiranyakashipo Rakshaha. Shilatankana Kalaye. Hiton Shinga Pariton Shingo. Yato Yato Yamitaton Singha. Bahin Shingo Rindayin Shingo. Yatse Hamadim Sharanang Prapaje. Tabakara Kamalavare Naka Amruta Shinga Sarita Hiranyakashipu Tanum Bringa Keshavadrita Narari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Tavakara Kamalala Naka Amruta Sringa Tavakara Kamalavare Nakamamruta Sringa Andarita Hiranyakashipu Tanum Bringa Keshavadrita Narari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Tavakara Kamalavare Nakahamamruta Sringa Dharita Tanum Bringa Keshavadrita Narari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Nrsimhare 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 Jai Nrsimhare Jai Nrsimhare 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 Jai Nrsimhare Narahari 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 Jaya Narahari Singh Bhagavan ki jai, Bharamanath ki jai, Gopemanandir, Haribo. There it is.
bigger. Yeah. The Manjari is also nice. Yeah. So.
I feel like money in that.
Yeah, you're doing the RD. Everyone be quiet, very quiet.
Do it in our minds.
Yeah, money.
Well, could you look up the
Well, look at it. Oh, but then.
Have a mind for it. Jaya Nara Hari, Nara Hari, Jaya Nara Hari. Dave, don't forget your beads. You want to get your beads, right? I'll wait.
Okay, any customers? Like? Yes. Those were shopping tonight? Yes. Well, as soon as we get a serving spoon, which is outside.
roses and
How about them? Yes, please. So wait for that service. Good. Was it a Sankirtan?
Yes, it was. Yeah, people come in and just sit and watch.
Were you there? Would you like to? Lady first. Yes. Okay. This is a, remember when we used to use that word osculum for judging? Havamali. Yeah. No? Little no? No. Yes, exactly. Training. I'm sorry. Opulent, we have plenty of opulent. That's okay. These kind of stuff is made many devotees. How about a cooked fish? And milk. We have this spoon. Talking dead rice. Something. You tell us what. One of each. A little of this too. It's opulent. And we don't have our duration.
Yes, duration.
Are we good? You can have a spoon. Why not? How much weight is this?
This time they cut around it now on both sides. And so I said, I guess I should warn it. A few weeks.
All right, I'm going to try out one of these chairs.
Oh, one of the new ones? I think, oh yeah, it's open to one.
You first on your block.
It'd be nice if we had a place to store them, but. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's the oldest world.